All right, so the graph represents y equals f of x. All right, so the f function is that blue one. Using y equals f of x, how can you graph a combination of transformations? So first, there's two things that are different, right? There's the negative out front, which is going to flip it over the x-axis. And then the +2 is going to actually move it to the left. So let's just click on the solution. So the first thing they deal with, again, is the +2 that moves it to the left. And then the negative sign. So it's in two steps. The +2 moved it from the blue to the green. The negative out front flips it over the x-axis. So it goes from the green to the orange. Okay. Let's look at another one. So again, the blue is the original. What's it going to look like with the transformations? In this case, the 1/2 is a multiplier, and then the 3 you're adding on at the end. So the 1/2 is a vertical compression. What it does is it pushes it down. And then the +3 actually moves then the entire thing up. So if you have a multiplier like that, it makes sense to do that first. It would compress it down, and then the +3 moved it up. All right, so now we're going to try it. At this point, I would pause and try it yourself, and then I'll explain it. So with this one, there's two kinds of transformations. One is the fact that you're multiplying by 2 on the inside. That's going to compress it across the, it compress it horizontally, sorry. So we'll do that. And then the -4 on the outside will just shift everything down 4. So what does it mean to compress by 2 horizontally? That means whatever the x value is, you're going to cut it in half and keep the y value in the same place. Again, we'll adjust for that -4 on a second step. So this point here has an x value of 4, so I'm going to move it so it now has an x value of 2. This point has an x value of 2, so I'm going to move it so it now has an x value of 1. This point has an x value of 1, so I'm going to move it so it has an x value of 1/2. This point has, or I should have been saying negatives for all those, but they end up being negatives as well. You're compressing it against the y-axis. So now this one, we're actually compressing the opposite direction of the first 3 because its x value is 1, and it will have now an x value of 1/2. Okay, but that's only dealing with half of the problem. That's dealing with that 2. Now we got to deal with that -4. The -4 on the outside separate is going to move everything down 4. So down 4. So it's at, when I say down, I mean I'm talking about y. It's got a y value of 2, so now I got a y value of, whoa. It's moving the okay. But y of negative. It just went down 4. It went from 2 down to -4. This point is a y value of 4, so it's going to go down to 0. It's a little tricky there. All right, cool. This point has a y value of 3. So when I move it down 4, it's going to now have a y value of -1. And this point has a y value of 7. So I'm going to move it down to have a y value of 3. Okay, so I did those two steps separately, right? Again, the +2 compressed it horizontally. The -4 moved it down 4. Let's check our answer. So that's the correct answer, and then that's the one I typed in. All right, so it looks like it matches up. All right, so hopefully you gave that a try as well. Let's look at the next part, or the last part. Another try it question. So again, why don't you take this one, pause it, give it a try, see if you can get it to match up, and then I'll give an explanation for you. All right, so this one actually has like 3 parts to it, right? It's got the compression. It also has something you're adding or subtracting inside, which is going to move it to the right. And then something on the outside, which will move it down. We'll do the compression part first. So that part's just the same as the last example. That 2 will cut the x values in half. So this negative 4 will move to this point will get, again, cut in half. So the x value is negative 2. Now it's negative 1. This one is 1, so it's going to go to, I'm sorry, negative 1 will go to negative 1/2. And that point has an x value of 1, so we'll move to 1/2. All right, now we're going to move it based on that minus 3. Because there's a coefficient, you're not just going to move it 3 to the right. You actually have to take that 3 and divide it by the coefficient of 2. So that's how far you're going to move it right. Okay, so it's not as simple as moving it 3 to the right. We're actually going to move this one only 3/2 right, which is 1.5. So we can think about it as 1.5 blocks to the right. So this point will move 1.5 to the right. This point will move 1.5. So I'm going to think about it as a half and then another 1. Okay. This point will move 1.5. And this point will move a half and then a 1. Okay. That minus 2 on the outside is going to move it down 2. So just straight up move it down 2. Move it down 2. Move it down 2. And move it down 2. And let's check our answer. So that's the correct answer, and then that's the one that I put in. So it looks like they match up. Okay, so hopefully you gave that a try. Let's move on to the next example.